Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 1, The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction, text number 43. Jyotir Yathaivodaka Parthiveshu Adaha Samira Veganugatang Vibhavyate Evang Swamaya Rajteshu Asau Puman Guneshu Raganugato Vimuyati Jyotir Yatai Vadaka Partai Veshu Adam Samira Veganugatang Vibhavyate Evang Swamaya Rachiteshva Saupuman Guneshu Raganugato Vimuyati Jyoti, the luminaries in the sky, such as the sun, the moon, and the stars. Yata, as. Eva, indeed. Udaka, in water. Parthiveshu, or in other liquids, like oil. Ada, directly. Samira Veganugatam, being forced by the movements of the wind. Vibhavyate, appear in different shapes. Evam, in this way. Swamaya Rachiteshu, in the situation created by one's mental concoctions. Asau, the living entity. Puman, person. Guneshu, in the material world, manifested by the modes of nature. Raga anugataha, according to his attachment. Vimuyati, become bewildered by identification. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the luminaries in the sky, such as the moon, the sun, and the stars, are reflected in liquids like oil or water, they appear to be of different shapes, sometimes round, sometimes long, and so on, because of the movements of the wind. Similarly, when the living entity, the soul, is absorbed in materialistic thoughts, he accepts various manifestations as his own identity because of ignorance. In other words, one is bewildered by mental concoctions because of agitation from the material modes of nature. Srila Prabhupada's purport. This verse gives a very good example by which to understand the different positions of the eternal spirit soul in the material world and how the soul takes on different bodies, dehantara prapti. The moon is stationary and is one, but when it is reflected in water or oil, it appears to take different shapes because of the movements of the wind. Similarly, the soul is the eternal servant of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when put into the material modes of nature, it takes different bodies. Sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, a dog, a tree, and so on. By the influence of Maya, the illusory potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity thinks that he is this person, that person, American, Indian, cat, dog, tree, or whatever. This is called Maya. When one is freed from this bewilderment and understands that the soul does not belong to any shape of this material world, one is situated on the spiritual platform, Brahma Bhuta. This realization is sometimes explained as nirakara, or formlessness. This formlessness, however, does not mean that the soul has no form. The soul has form, but the external agitating form he has acquired because of material contamination is false. Similarly, God is also described as nirakara, which means that God has no material form, but is Sat-Chit-Ananda Vigraha. The living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Sat-Chit-Ananda Vigraha. But his material forms are temporary or illusory. Both the living entity and the Supreme Lord have original spiritual forms, Sat-Chit-Ananda Vigraha. But the Lord, the Supreme, does not change his form. The Lord appears as he is, whereas the living entity appears because material nature forces him to accept different forms. When the living entity receives these different forms, he identifies with them and not with his original spiritual form. As soon as the living entity returns to his original spiritual form and understanding, he immediately surrenders to the supreme form, the personality of Godhead. This is explained in Bhagavad-Gita 7:19. Bahunang jamanam ante jnanavan mang prapadyate. When the living entity, after many, many births in different forms, returns to his original form of Krishna consciousness, he immediately surrenders unto the lotus feet of the supreme form, Krishna. This is liberation. As the Lord says in Bhagavad-Gita 18:54, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nashochati Nakangshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Madbhakting Labhate Param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Surrender unto the Supreme Form is the result of bhakti. This bhakti, or understanding of one's own position, is the complete liberation. As long as one is under an impersonal understanding of the absolute truth, he is not in pure knowledge, but must still struggle for pure knowledge. Klesho dikartaras teshang avyakta sakta chetasam. Although one may be spiritually advanced, if one is attached to the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth, one must still work very hard, as indicated by the words klesho dikatara, which means greater suffering. A devotee, however, easily attains his original position as a spiritual form and understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form. Krishna himself explains the forms of the living entities in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, where he clearly says to Arjuna that he, Arjuna, and all other living entities who were previously in their original forms are separated individual entities. They were individuals in the past. They are now situated in individuality. In the future, they will continue to maintain their individual forms. The only difference is that the conditioned living entity appears in various material forms, whereas Krishna appears in his original spiritual form. Unfortunately, those who are not advanced in spiritual knowledge think that Krishna is like one of them, and that his form is like their material forms. Avajananti mang mudha manushing tanumashritam. Krishna is never puffed up by material knowledge and is therefore called achyuta, whereas the living entities fall down and are agitated by material nature. This is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entities. In this connection, it is to be noted that Vasudeva, who was situated in a transcendental position, advised Kamsa not to commit further sinful activities. Kamsa, a representative of the demons, was always ready to kill Krishna or God, whereas Vasudeva represented a transcendentally situated person to whom Krishna is born. Vasudeva is the son of Vasudeva. Vasudeva wanted his brother-in-law Kamsa to refrain from the sinful act of killing his sister, since the result of being agitated by material nature would be that Kamsa would have to accept a body in which to suffer again and again. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Rishabhadev also says, Nasadu manye yata atmenoyam asanapi kleshada asadeham. As long as the living entity is entangled in the fruitive activities of so-called happiness and distress, he will receive a particular type of body in which to endure the 3 kinds of suffering due to material nature, Tripada Yantrana. An intelligent person, therefore, must free himself from the influence of the 3 modes of material nature and revive his original spiritual body by engaging in the service of the Supreme Person, Krishna. As long as one is materially attached, one must accept the process, birth, death, old age, and disease. One is therefore advised that an intelligent person, instead of being entangled in the so-called good and bad fruitive activities, should engage his life in advancing in Krishna consciousness, so that instead of accepting another material body, Tyaktva dehang punar janma naiti, he will return home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Jnanate Marandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, this 10th canto, every verse, I'm noticing Srila Prabhupada is putting so much wonderful energy and power into his translations and purports. Not that he's changing, he's presenting the original knowledge of self-realization as Krishna spoke to Arjuna, as Lord Kapila spoke to Devahuti, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda presented. In a material world, everyone's working very hard, looking for happiness. They give the example of the animal in the desert, the ignorant animal in the desert. It sees something that looks like water and enthusiastically goes after that water in the desert. It gets hotter and hotter, and the water seems to get more and more distant until ultimately it shrivels up and dies. So everyone in this material world is thinking, just a little bit more endeavor and my plans will be completed. Prabhupada gave the story of a very wealthy man. The doctor says, this body and this life is finished. Please give me 4 more years so I can complete my, take care of my family. I have commitments to my nation. I have commitments to my community, society, all my friends. What will they do without me? We're all thinking we're indispensable. But actually, even though we may be very healthy, jogging on the beach every day. I used to live in Miami Beach, in Govinda Vaikuntha building. So from our window we could see everyone exercising nicely. You could slip and break your neck in a moment, and you don't know where you're going. So this same knowledge that was spoken by Krishna, that is being described here in the 10th canto and throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Devahuti was asking, when she understood that this was all destiny, the Kardama Muni went off for his meditation, Lord Kapila was there, and Devahuti very humbly approached her own son. You're like my guru. I am less intelligent. I don't know what the process or the perfection or goal of life is. I'm tired that my senses are always forcing me to try to squeeze happiness from temporary situations. I'm attached to my family, the other family, my society, my community, so many obligations. A father cannot rest in peace till he marries every one of his daughters to a very qualified boy. Very hard to find a very qualified mate. And so our whole life becomes totally entangled in satisfying the mental and the physical needs of the body and strongly identifying with my birth. I say, well, I was born in Macedonia. Oh, Alexander the Great, But he was not great, he was a great fool. But actually, everyone in the material world is totally in the bodily consciousness. Even during the war, fight for the motherland, fight for your nation, fight for your family. And no matter how much wealth one has, or how much sense gratification, kama and lobha, sense gratification, greed, lust and greed. This is our binding to this material world. We're all lusting for reputation. We're all lusting for woman, man. We're all lusting for wealth because we think that today I'm very happy. I have unlimited crores. One very nice gentleman came to my office yesterday and he had 15 associates with him. I said, what are all these people? Oh, these are my bodyguards. I said, oh, you need so many bodyguards. So even though you may be making a crore a day and have unlimited crores in the bank, you can only eat so much, isn't it? Otherwise you get indigestion for 2 days, 3 days. And you can only sleep in a small spot, 6-foot area. So although we think, well, that's okay, but at least I can have the satisfaction of being glorified by so many of my associates that have accomplished something very wonderful. So Devahuti was praying in this way to the Lord, and Lord Kapila was very happy, smiling, and gave her this science of yoga, real yoga, of detachment, how one can actually give up the pursuit of the illusion of the desert, chasing after that which does not exist in the desert. And if we look at the whole history of the world, people have always tried to become happy and satisfied, big families, big dynasties, but none of that's giving any happiness. So Srila Prabhupada, sent by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Goswamis, Lord Krishna himself, came to deliver us, to give us this message of back to Godhead. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda are the most merciful, very kind. When Prabhupada came to Atlanta, he was saying, yes, Krishna is very kind, very merciful, he's giving guidance, giving instruction. But Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are extremely merciful. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Goratvashe Namaha. The Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda saved the Jughai and Mudhai, proof of their mercy. And they're saving all the Jughais and Mudhais of this world. And even though we may not have the intelligence of how to conduct our life, how to structure our life so that we're not trapped by the illusion of material existence, is like the ass, the donkey. They put a carrot dangling in front of the donkey continues looking how to grab this carrot. Not only that, they load it up with all kinds of laundry. The laundryman uses the donkeys, and the donkey carries this heavy, heavy load, this burden on his back for a little bit of grass, for a little morsel of grass you can get anywhere. But this donkey, not even one piece of cloth belongs to him, but still he's carrying this load. So we're all carrying the heavy load of misidentification of this body to be the self. And then this is the nature. They say the senses are like the demigods that providing service. The mind is like the Supreme Lord. And when we choose to not surrender the mind and senses to the service of Krishna, then we become entangled. We get thrown into this material world. Because we're Satchidananda Vigraha, we're eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. We've existed in the past, we're existing now, we'll continue to exist in the future. But why do people go to school? Why do people work hard? To have a good life. They want to be happy. But that happiness is temporary in this world, so that kind of pursuit is insignificant. Shreyas and prayas. Shreyas means I go to school, I learn, I can have a nice family, good money, live a happy life, a temporary happy life. So, but real Shreyas is looking beyond the temporary existence of this body. Because as we said, that banana peel, you may slip and break your neck or break your legs and be incapacitated, then the mind becomes totally disturbed, not proper. We have adhyatmika, adhidaivika, adhibodhika. We have other living entities giving us trouble. Flies in your eyes, or the mosquitoes are bugging you, or that's one the president's always making, where's your mask? Where's your mask? You know, someone's always bothering you. There's always some disturbance from other living entities. And then our own body and mind, isn't it? We got sick, we have to take so much medicine, and knees are not working, the leg is not working. Today I have headache, I don't want to talk to you right now, I'm disturbed, you know. So adhyatmika, then adhidaivika, there's earthquake, there's pandemic, there's hurricane, depends on where you're living. In Miami we had many hurricanes. Florida, the southern. So we try to enjoy the gift of God, this material existence, but he's telling us, look there's a trap here. Just like Harsha Shoka, when Chitraketu wanted a son, he said, okay, you'll be happy, but you'll also be very distressed. Oh, I don't care about the distress, I just want what I want. And then when the son died, then unlimited suffering, unlimited pain and agony. So this fear of death is there in everyone. And some will say, I'm not fearful of death. And just see, but when the fire is blazing, I was in New Dwarka, Los Angeles, either 93 or 94. And I tell the story many times. It was at Mangal Artik time, I was on the altar, blew the conch shell, and an earthquake hit. And all the pillars are breaking, and immediately we all grab to hold the deities and everything. And people are jumping out of windows, somebody broke their leg, and people are completely freaking out, they say. So on a battlefield also, when the bullets are flying and the enemy is attacking you with bayonet in hand, everyone is on their hands and knees praying to the Lord, please, I'll never do anything sinful again, I'll be good. I promise to be good from now on. No more nonsense. And so sometimes Krishna puts us through tests. Some difficulties are always going to be there. We see the last 8 months have been a test for our patience, a test of our ability to see that Krishna's giving us a wake-up call that now you have a chance, you have an opportunity because of Lord Chaitanya's appearance and the Goswamis and Srila Prabhupada translating all this Vedic literature. We're not being misled. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekang sharanang vraja hang tvang sarapapevyo moksheshyame masuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion. Krishna is not saying to abandon religion. He's saying give up all your misconceptions, because people think, I am one with God, and once I'm finished with this life, my soul will merge into the eternality of the oneness of everything. So there's so much philosophy, word jugglery, misunderstandings, temporary religious rituals that don't give proper satisfaction to the intellect, are not logical or reasonable. So Jnana Vairagya is a natural manifestation of bhakti. That by performing this process, which is recommended in this age, Kali Kalir Dharma Krishna Nam Sankirtan, Goloker Premadan Harinam Sankirtan. So, because we are fools, we're less intelligent, maybe there's some intelligent people, but it's limited intelligence. So, feeling sorry for us, when a child leaves the parents and forgets about the parent never forgets the child. Krishna is not forgetting. He's appearing, Das Avatar. Just imagine, not what to speak of the spiritual world, a small fraction, material world, unlimited universes, unlimited planets. You look up in the sky, especially when you're up in the Himalayas or in the mountains, and at nighttime you see all the luminaries in the sky, and some foolish scientist is telling you that only on this tiny earth there's life. Life in the water, life in the land, life in the air. Life is everywhere here, you know, bugs. But everywhere else is just vacant. It's just for the scenery, for our pleasure. So we can understand how foolish so-called philosophers, scientists, philanthropists are. And where's that educational institution or university teaching how to get free from the cycle of birth and death? They're just giving you technology, giving you some sort of electronics, how to build an automobile, how to build a better computer, how to have a little telephone is more powerful than a huge computer. This material science is all temporary, and when Lord Brahma finishes his lifetime, everything is dissolved. And if you see the big perspective that Mahavishnu, unlimited universes are emanating from his pores, and then he's creating unlimited Brahmas, unlimited planets, unlimited living entities. When Vasudeva Datta was praying to the Lord, my Lord, you please free the suffering of all these living entities. Prabhupada said he was more merciful than any other Messiah or incarnation, because Vasudeva Datta, he genuinely wanted to take the suffering of every living being. So let me suffer for them, but you give them. Lord Chaitanya laughed. He said, yeah, it's okay. You know, if I have a huge basket full of mustard seeds, tiny little, if one little seed falls out, what is the big issue there? There's nothing. You know, there's unlimited living entities who are waiting and ready to repopulate the world. But it's not that the Lord is unmerciful. He's very merciful, but he was not interfering with our independence. We have a choice, isn't it? When you choose to join the military, then you have to follow the rules and regulations. You can say, hey Sarge, I don't agree with this. That's too bad. You joined. You made your choice. Once you buy your ticket for the airplane, you're going to get to your destination. So this is the whole idea, that we want to be careful to make sure that we get the ticket to Goloka Vrindavan, to go back to the spiritual kingdom. Because if we're thinking that I need to stop off at the heavenly planets, check out some of the beautiful scenes there, the beautiful people there, must be some good enjoyment there. And then after that I can continue on. But by our activities, once the machinery is working, karmana daivana trena, then our thoughts, our mind directs our senses to act in such a way that we're creating our own destiny. But Krishna is in our heart. Sarvasya chahang hri sanavishto matat smriti jnano pohanam cha. You wake up in the morning, how do you know who you are? Where you are. Do you ever wake up and not know exactly where you are? Sometimes that happens, and people, they forget. When they get older, they have Parkinson's and different kinds of material diseases where we start forgetting. And it's because of Super Soul giving us remembrance, but according to our desire. They give the analogy of two birds on a branch. One bird is eating the fruit, and the other bird is only witnessing and facilitating. Krishna is giving us the ability. If Krishna took away the ability, the hand would not move. You know, you've seen people who become paralyzed. Nothing works, doesn't move. You know, you get a stroke, and you become like a vegetable, they say. So we don't want to just talk in a negative way. The positive way is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us that with all his devotees he'd be dancing and chanting in front of Lord Jagannath. And not only that, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally was putting sandalwood and garland and feeding devotees with his own hand, giving. And how merciful. I read the pastime of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya inviting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after the Rath Yatra ceremony was finished. And of course, Lord finally accepted. He wanted it for 30 days. You come every day. He said, no, this is not a sannyasi's business to accept invitations every single day. So, okay, at least, 15, 10. Somehow he got 5 days out of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his elaborate description. But when it was described of the beautiful offering made to the deities, to Krishna Balaram, to Lord Jagannath, so many varieties. It's just unbelievable. We sometimes say, oh, so many varieties. You got dal, rice, many sabjis, chapatis, chutney, salad. But it went on for pages of all the wonderful preparations. And when Lord Chaitanya said, he said, no, this is for a sannyasi, this is not right. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was saying, look, you're eating so many offerings as Lord Jagannath. You have so many queens, you've expanded yourself, you're having meals in every palace, you have so many relatives, you're satisfying every relative. He goes, don't try to trick me. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is but a small morsel of food I'm offering you. So the son-in-law comes in, Amoga. He's known for criticizing. Somehow Sarvabhauma knew his nature. He had a stick avoiding Amoga from coming to steal Lord Chaitanya. But immediately he came and he said, so much food for hundreds of people, and this sannyasi is eating everything. Oh, but then after he saw the eyes of Sarvabhauma, Amoga immediately ran away. And the next day, he got Karala? I can't even pronounce it. He was diseased because of offending the Lord. And Sarvabhauma and his wife were so distressed, they said, let our daughter become a widow. You know, they wanted, because when someone is offending us, we can tolerate. But if someone is offending the Lord or the Vaishnavas, you become very angry, and you can, if you can, you cut their tongue, and many severe explanations are there. Even if one cannot do anything practically, you want to commit suicide. Because Sarvabhauma was a Brahmana, that was not an option, and also Amoga was in a Brahmin family, so he didn't want to do that. But he was dying. Amoga was dying, and Lord Chaitanya put his hand on his chest and said, and liberated him. He said, from this day on, you simply absorb your mind in chanting the holy name. Do not commit offenses to devotees. So the idea is that we may be chanting the holy name, but the important aspect is we have to avoid the offenses to the devotees. We have to avoid the offenses to the deities. We actually have to become mindful that it's not just a mechanical process. I'm chanting, I'm okay. And then if we disregard others and show disrespect, Lord Chaitanya was showing respect to Sarvabhauma, his family, his servants, his assistants. It's not that now that because I'm a big position, we all of a sudden, you know, who are you? This is not the way. Trinadapi sunichina tarodapi seshnana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So we want to get off the bodily platform and stop this repetition of birth and death. And the simple, we say simple, and very clear process is the Harinam. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam, kalu anasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. There's no other way of performing the intricacies of following all the scriptural rules and regulations, performing all the sacrifices, the yagyas. You know, cleanliness is next to godliness. Bathing 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, evening. Cleansing the mind by chanting the holy name, by hearing Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. These are very important principles. Lord Chaitanya says, by chanting and dancing, the heart becomes clean. The mind becomes pacified by chanting and dancing. And then prasadam, especially in our ISKCON society, these 3 factors, chanting, dancing, and taking Krishna prasadam. Association of devotees, living in the holy place, worshipping Tulsi Devi. These are not just rituals, not just some shastric injunctions which should be followed because that's what Brahmanas do. This is for every living entity who wants to stop suffering, stop the repetition of birth and death, and awaken their love for Krishna. This love for Krishna is our natural constitutional position. And Lord Kapila explains to his mother Devahuti the process of sadhu sangha, of accepting initiation from Guru, of hearing the Lord's pastimes, repeating the Lord's pastime, glorifying the Lord in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing of all the Lord's pastimes in the villages, in the older days, maybe even now, that every evening everyone would come together and hear Ramayana, Mahabharata. They would hear about Krishna. They would hear about the glorious activities of Lord Ram. Nowadays, everyone just simply absorbed in distracting themselves with politics. Oh, did you know that Trump and his wife, they both have COVID, and what a nonsense he is, and this guy's a nonsense, and the debate was useless, and what is all these things? These things are useless. The politics, sociology, philanthropy have been going on since time immemorial, and one who's really wants to save every second, every moment. You cannot buy one moment back of time that's been spent, isn't it? When the time is gone, it's gone. And so we have limited time, maybe 100 years, maybe 50 years. maybe only a few seconds of life. So we are being encouraged to enthusiastically hear about the Lord. Spend your time. So many books, Prabhupada said, I've written so many books. You should read these books. And when you're chanting the holy name, move the lips and the tongue. And even though we don't have a taste for the holy name, we still, out of duty, whatever it may take, we still follow the doctor, our spiritual doctor, Srila Prabhupada, saying at least you've made a commitment, you've taken initiation in front of the devotees, the fire, the deities, that you are following this process of Krishna Bhakti, devotional service. Not only are we chanting the holy name, taking prasadam and hearing about Krishna, but we're also acting, using our body, using our mind in the service of Krishna by performing of Sankirtan. And Sankirtan means that you're going out and you're preaching, you're distributing books, or you're dressing the deities beautifully, or you're cooking very beautifully. It's all Sankirtan. So Prabhupada, he's very kind, very merciful, and he's created a home in which we can all try to work together. We know that in every home there's always some disturbances, the mother-in-law, the brother, the sisters, the cousins and uncles. Many people, they have some fight going on because of sense gratification. Whenever there's an interruption in my sense gratification, we become angry. And then by becoming angry, we lose our intelligence and we fall back into the material whirlpool. So kama, from lust, anger, then so much confusion comes about. So stay in the association of all the devotees. Hear attentively the message of Krishna by hearing Bhagavatam. Perform service enthusiastically. I sometimes hear devotees say, I don't know, my service we're all doing 6-8 hours, but they're only doing 2 hours. I say, you're greatly fortunate. Krishna's given you some devotional service. Why are we comparing the fool who's hiding from service? Oh, he's only doing 1 hour service? Maybe I should join his team. But that means you want to give up your devotional service. Prabhupada is engaged 24 hours a day. So what are we doing for Krishna and Prabhupada? We have to see, evaluate. What is my service? My service is to humbly, sincerely chant and hear about Krishna, tell others of Krishna, stay in the association of devotees and broadcast Krishna consciousness to stop the cycle of birth and death. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 30 minutes, hard to give everything, but it's there, every purport. Just listen carefully and come to the class regularly, and in this way achieve real perfection in life. Any question, comment? Yes, Prabhuji. Here you go. There you go.
Who is stopping the cycle of death and birth. So each and everyone who is chanting Hare Krishna and they are in the temple who is service, they can stop this coming from the cycle of birth.
Yes, everyone who's chanting the holy name of the Lord sincerely, without offense in the temple, will stop the cycle of rebirth, yes.
Whether it is honestly or just sincerely or anything.
Yeah, I mean, there is a criterion, nectar of devotion, nectar of instruction. Lord Chaitanya taught Sanatana and Rupa Goswami to give the, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarapasta Vegam. So there are many rules and regulations which preliminary need to be followed, and then to chant humbly, with attention, and without offense. So there are prerequisite criteria. Although the holy name is all-powerful, but by committing offenses and by not following the prerequisite rules and regulations, it does not penetrate our steel-like heart. It does not penetrate, we are covered over. Material life means we're covered over, mind and heart. And we're just driven by our unrestricted senses and mind. So we're chanting the holy name, full power is there. But if you lock yourself in a dark closet, you'll not see the sunshine. So by committing offenses and by not preparing our heart and mind for the Lord to enter, then it takes much more time. So better that we do all the prerequisite necessary activities so that the Lord will want to sit in our heart and want to dance on our tongue, and we can realize that more quickly. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.